Hello, this is a very brief overview of Week 3, Marketing 301. The chapters of interest this week are in your textbook Advertising Media Planning, chapters 4 and 5, where we talk about media measures. Chapter 4 covers the basic terminology and concepts, whereas chapter 5 goes into a little bit more of the advanced measures. Your week 3 discussion is really queuing you up to be able to work together as a group on your creative brief, but you simply want to identify what types of medium you think your advertising campaign should best fit into, and you should know a little bit about how to measure the effectiveness of the campaign. So we want to keep things basic here. Don't get too bogged down in the math, but you should definitely make sure you're clear on what types of media use what types of measures, and the basic terminology should be very clear to you when we're talking about reach and frequency, audience coverage. The things that I will show you on the upcoming slides are detailed very much in chapters 4 and 5. So you should make sure to read and reread those chapters to get a very solid understanding of the different measures. But this week you should make a post about what you think, what medium you feel your product or your campaign is best suited for, and please give your classmates some specifics. So unpacking some of these measures in the context of the discussion will be very helpful for your classmates, and the goal of it would be for you all to help each other collectively understand what the different types of measures are in the different mediums. Chapter 4, how are media vehicles measured? Basically, even though it's much more complex than this, understanding that TV and radio, all of these mediums are measured using surveys. So each medium has a different way or different tools for doing this. You are probably all familiar with Nielsen ratings for television. The Arbitron ratings are similar for radio. With magazines and newspapers, there are surveys done. There's a few different kinds. There's the recent reading, frequency, and read it yesterday surveys. So there are people who walk around and interview random people walking on the street, and they have these large decks filled with the covers of magazines, and they ask folks, which one of these have you read recently, or how much have you read this, or did you read any of these yesterday? So those types of surveys help the magazine and newspaper industry get some of their basic rating survey. The internet uses Nielsen and ComScore. Also, we know with social media, there's many different types of measures now that help us identify paid, owned, earned. So that could be sharings, retweets, likes, comments. Those types of things are measurable. And then for out-of-home ads, we have the Traffic Auto Bureau, which measures the amount of traffic that passes past billboards and or the amount of pedestrian foot traffic for certain other types of fixed ads that are in specific places. The other tool used to gauge out-of-home measures is surveys. So people will go out into the streets and ask people if they've been exposed to certain ads and where they may have seen them. And here are the terms that you need to be most familiar with in Chapter 4. You should know the difference between actual and potential audience size. So potential audience is always larger than the actual audience. So this is determining of all the people who your ad may have reached, who actually saw or heard the content of the ad. Print circulation relates to magazine and newspapers, how many people subscribe to or purchase the newspaper or magazine. Audience accumulation really gets down to reach and frequency, which is covered more extensively in Chapter 5, Advanced Measures. But that has to do with the weight and how often people see your ad. Coverage, there's a great exhibit on page 85, which is exhibit 4-4. It shows you how coverage is phrased within each medium. So the word coverage has a different definition or usage depending on which medium you are working within. And impressions and ratings. Impressions would be the amount of people who could potentially see or have laid eyes or heard your ad, whereas ratings is the share of the audience that you were able to access at any given point in time. Chapter 5, again, there's a lot of math in here, but I just want you to focus on the idea that these advanced measures are really trying to measure the weight of the ad, meaning the reach and frequency. So there's many different methodologies for determining this. Again, all of these measures, you're always trying to examine how many people saw your ad, when did they see it, and how do they interact with the medium. This again goes back to the purchasing funnel and being strategic about wanting to get people in the right place depending on what your objectives are. You would have a different way of looking at the reach. If you are trying to educate large numbers of people, you want the largest reach possible, whereas frequency might come into play when you want people closer to that purchasing, when they're ready to purchase the product you're selling. So how do they go about measuring these types of measures? Gross rating point and gross impressions. Again, here you are looking at a bigger number for gross impressions. The rating point would be, again, the share of an audience that you were able to reach at any given point in time. Reach and coverage really go towards understanding your audience accumulation. So over the span of a month or the span of a campaign, how many people were you able to reach, and where was this, and how often did they get exposed to your message over the course of the campaign or month? Combined reach and random duplication. This is a measure that tries to determine if your ads are running in multiple medium at the same time. How is it that we can determine the reach when there's all these different media interacting with each other? Again, this is going back to chapter 3, not completely knowable, but there are measures in place. They often cost extra money for companies, so this is data usually only available to very large companies, but there are surveys done to help people understand the effect of a combined ad campaign. Frequency is about distribution. How often are people receiving this message? And effective frequency is a measure in which they try to see how often it takes someone to hear the message to prompt the desired response that you want them to have. So again, a lot of these advanced measures, again, do cost money. All of these companies are in business to sell their data, and you can see, though, the ability to know exactly when your target audience is engaging with different media at different points is extremely valuable information. This week, your group will submit their creative brief. Do not overthink this. This is really your gut feeling as to what is the marketing problem you have identified to solve, and then from there, make some suggestions to your media planner, your agency rep, that will help them create a full media plan. Each person will receive a company for which they will serve as the media planner or agency rep this week, and you should begin to really think about the initial steps of the media plan. Again, chapter 2 outlines comprehensively what all the different elements of a media plan are, but each project description also will guide you to the exact pages. There are also examples of comprehensive media plans all over the internet. Again, I want you to really more engage with one another as client and media planners. So the back and forth that you guys have with one another should simulate real world conditions. So there is oftentimes a need to help your media planner be more attuned with the corporate culture or the creative objectives, and that is, again, on the agency rep side, a constant sort of pitch and sell sort of atmosphere in which you're trying to convince your client that you've come up with the best media plan that will serve their solve their marketing problem and meet their marketing objectives. So more about this will be addressed in the future when you are doing your first individual project, but you do have all the guidance you need. Chapter 2, again, lays out every single aspect of a comprehensive media plan, so you should use that as your template and guide. And also you will see in the file section on Canvas examples of media plans to help you as well. If you have any questions, please do not hesitate to message me on Canvas or email me at rex.bobish@bellevuecollege.edu, or you can call me at 240-394-1248. Thank you.